Well, at ease, paratroopers, and welcome back to the Enduring Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, retired Army Staff Sergeant Kevin Kidder. Today's guests are who I like to call the dynamic duo, a couple whose stories blend service, sports, family, and impact in a way that fits right into the heart of this show. In the military softball community, they are absolute legends. David Tre Moore is a retired first sergeant who served 23 years in the United States Army. He's a leader through and through, both in and out of uniform, and now as an area maintenance manager for a major waste management company. Tre is a 5-time All Army and 4-time All Armed Forces softball team member, a level of athletic achievement only a small handful ever reach. He's a devoted husband to Jelena and a proud father of 3, Natalie, 24, Jaden, almost 20, and Corey, 11. Jelena brings her own powerhouse resume to this conversation. She's 37, originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina, just outside Fort Bragg. She currently serves as a K-2 interventionist at an elementary school on Fort Hood, is earning her master's in curriculum and instruction, and still finds the time to coach both 10U and 12U softball teams. Oh, yeah, she was also a 4-year starter, 2-time All American, and now Hall of Fame inductee at UNC Pembroke. She has carried that competitive spirit into every season of her life. She and Tre were married in 2012. She became a stepmom overnight, and 2 years later, they welcomed Corey. Their journey took them from North Carolina to Germany and then to Fort Hood in 2018, where they've finally been able to put down roots closer to their older kids and extended family. This is my conversation with the dynamic duo. Let's get into it. Okay, today is a first for the Enduring Mindset Podcast. This is our very first multi-guest episode, and I couldn't think of a better pair to set the bar high than Tre and Jelena Moore. They are the dynamic duo in every sense, a veteran and a military spouse whose journey together is full of faith, resilience, and purpose. We're going to dive into their story and how they continue to lead together in this next chapter of life. So, Tre and Jelena, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to support me. It means the world.
Oh, thanks for having us on. It's been a long time since we've talked, and it's a good way to reconnect.
Yes, I'm happy to be here. So good to hear from you, and I'm proud of you for what you have going, and I can't wait to see what's next for you as well. So we're excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you. And this is kind of embarrassing. It's a little bit of a repeating theme that I'm reconnecting with people. So I need to do better on that, but I love it.
We all do.
I think we all do.
Right. So I met you guys in Germany when I was just a little fledgling softball player. I was stationed at Stuttgart, and you were on Team Bavaria. And apparently, before I got to Germany, Stuttgart was really good. We were terrible when I was there. I think we won 1 or 2 games the entire time. I didn't care. We had a blast. Um, but I met you through Danny, and just watching you play, like, world class athlete, phenomenal. But you are humble to the bone, man. Like, there's a lot of people who could play at that level that you did, and they are cocky and arrogant and abrasive, and you never gave off that vibe. You were as cool as the other side of the pillow. It was just a joy to be around you. Almost like I would get like starstruck, like, oh my god, there's Tre. Like, do I go up? Do I go up and say hi? And like Danny's like, yeah, dude, go say hi. Like, he puts his softball pants one leg at a time. I was like, no, he doesn't. He probably floats into them. He's so good. But I love you. But you were just, I mean, and Jelena just always supporting and gregarious, a big, beautiful smile. And you're like, oh, I can hit better than him. I'm better than him. I was like, you should probably come play for us. Like, we're terrible. I don't think Mox would have let us recruit you, but we certainly tossed it around a little bit. But yeah, just the memories traveling across Europe, the different countries, and with travel ball, you get tired of seeing the same teams. With military softball, it's great. You're like, oh, is Ansbach going to be there? Is Bavaria going to be there? Is Ramstein going to be there? Like, I
Yeah,
want to see this person. Like, we want to put them in the dirt. We want to win one. Like, but it's the most fun once you're outside of the lines.
yeah, yeah.
Guys are barbecuing, camping, telling stories, lies, all the good stuff that goes with
Yeah, just hanging
military
out, having a good
machismo,
time. Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's
Mhm.
brotherhood and camaraderie in one of its purest forms.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what I was gonna add, that it is a brotherhood. Some of Trey's best friends and some of my best girlfriends are from military, a lot of it military softball, so that part of our story is really amazing. Danny and Jazz, they're like brothers and sisters to us,
Right,
still to this day. They text us a few days ago, and we were just talking back and forth. Their kids are our kids are their kids, so it's a huge, beautiful family, and I mean that talking about the world of softball, military
right.
softball.
No, I get it. When we were driving from Detroit out to Phoenix, one of our stops overnight was in Oklahoma City, and I had messaged them. I was like, "I don't know if you guys are available. Love to catch up." And they did. Danny and Jazz and the girls came over, and it wasn't like 30 minutes. It was like 2 or 3 hours, and it was great catching up and just getting to reconnect again.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of that reconnecting is so awesome.
And it's huge. It's a theme of my book. It's the last thing, which is reclaiming purpose, identity, and connection after service. And speaking of books, so you guys know what's about to happen, but for new listeners, back in April, I got to attend a conference in Los Angeles, and one of the breakout sessions was held by Brett Ledbetter, who's a mental performance coach. And his breakout session was the power of asking better questions. And it was phenomenal. Loved it. Got the chance to speak with him afterwards. Very humble guy, very smart, intelligent, articulate. And of course, he took the opportunity to plug his new book, which is 365 Questions to Get to Know Yourself and Your Team Better. And when the kids got me the book for Father's Day because I just couldn't shut up about it. And
Mm,
when I started the podcast, I knew I wanted to take his idea and make it my own, which is anytime I have the privilege of having a guest or guests on, I wanted to read them a question on air for the first time and just get a really authentic answer, nothing you could prepare or rehearse for. So, you guys
okay.
ready?
Yes, we
I think
are.
so.
Well,
All right,
yeah,
you
we
could
think
both
so. Yeah.
answer.
Okay.
Okay.
When have you said, "There's no way I would do that," and then did it? Why did you end up doing it, and what can you learn from that?
Okay. That's not a bad question there. Um, Mine was coming in the army. You know, in at the beginning is freshman, sophomore. I see these seniors joining the military. I was like, nah, man. I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
Come my senior year, I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't feel like going to school anymore. And just this recruiter was in the cafeteria. Went and talked to him. Next day, he came to the house, and that was it.
Wow.
That
So it's
was
like
it.
Gary Owen where he's talking about, like, the Navy recruiter comes over, he's like, "I'd get you out of this."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What about you,
Oh, man.
Jelena?
Um, I think it would have to be sacrificing my independence, and you'll hear a little bit
Mhm.
about my background and how close I am to my family. It's so funny, I'm really close to the men in my family. My grandpa, he's 90 years old. I try to talk to
Wow.
him really often, yes. He's actually, like, doing something to his fence. He's doing so well for his age. Um, but he would always tell me things like, "Don't let a man come into your life and take your independence from you. Make sure that you still stay your authentic self," excuse me. Um, and my younger years, especially before I got married, I held true to that, and I didn't allow anyone to come in and tried to foster that for me, but it changed when I met Trey. Like, a lot changed. There were a whole bunch of different beliefs that I had about what marriage should look like, what a wife should and shouldn't do, and even should and shouldn't allow, especially if they're working, a working mom, a working wife. Um, but a lot of that has changed, and I understand that there's a bigger component. We have a higher purpose for the things that we do, and it really has changed my outlook in that regard.
I love that. I share both of your answers. Trey, like, I remember my senior year, I was in Spanish class with Sarah Trent, and I was going to Eastern Michigan University. And she's like, "Are you going to join a fraternity?" I was like, "I would never." She's like, "What? You are like prime fraternity material." And I was offended because I had absolutely no self awareness. And then sure enough, I did join a fraternity, and that's how I ended up not staying in college. And Jelena, for your point, when Caitlin and I started dating, we're we were both very self aware of being independent. And I can't
Mm,
remember the name of the book, but we read it together. And for two independent people to survive in a relationship, you have to become interdependent, which is
yes.
you're not dependent on the other person for your joy, your happiness, anything.
Mm, mhm.
You find that in yourself, but you can be interdependent. So your independence can fight a little bit, but it ends up being kind of a double helix like DNA, like it intertwines and two become one. And Caitlin's a strong spirited woman, which is why I love her. But it takes all kinds, and I think you guys are a great reflection of that as well. You're both very strong, independent people, but put together, you're interdependent, which makes you just one of the best couples I've ever met.
Aw,
Appreciate that.
thank you.
Let's go ahead and jump into the conversation. We'll talk about early life and the military. So Trey, what was life like growing up for you? Where are you from? What values or influences shaped you early on?
All right. So grew up in Miami with my mom and my stepdad. Parents got divorced when I was about 1 or 2. So things were going good, living down there, loving it, playing sports. But my stepdad started to hit me a little bit, for the smallest minor reasons. So that created a little sense of fear at home. So I found myself constantly worrying about doing something wrong. Am I going to do this? Is he going to hit me for this? So sports became my outlet. So if it offered like an escape from challenges at home, and it's something I was pretty good at. So I enjoyed it even more. When I was 15, I told my mom I wanted to move away from my stepdad and live with my dad in Tennessee. So I was just seeking comfort and support from a larger family network because it was only, my mom and my stepdad's side of the family in Miami. So Tennessee was my all of my dad's side. So I felt more secure and surrounded by family. And throughout high school, I just went to school to play sports. I'd struggled with grades. Just I did well enough to, be eligible to
Hmm.
keep to keep playing. Played multiple sports, but baseball and golf, stood out as my passions. But not only provided me an outlet or temporarily escape from life's realities, but it gave me a sense of accomplishment and a sense of purpose. And that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And right now I'm the director of security for a small charter school in a not good part of Phoenix. And there's not a lot of dads in the picture, a lot of broken homes, a lot of grandparents raising
Mm,
kids.
mhm.
And like today, I had fifth and sixth grade lunch and recess, and I could see some of that energy on the basketball court because they're playing soccer, they're playing football, they're playing basketball, full contact, everything. And I'm trying to like keep the boys safe. And like one point, I'm in front of the concrete wall, and one dude forgot they're playing two hand touch, and he's bulldozing people. I had to kind of like stick my arms out. I can't grab him, but like be a barrier. I'm like, "Hey man, are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Well, you were down back there, and back there, and back there." Like, it's two hand touch, bro. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Kevin's like, you're good, bro. I love it. I love the competition, but I can see a lot of that where you get engrossed into the world because for 10, 15, 20 minutes, 2 hours, whatever sport it is, you can really lose yourself and have tunnel vision
Mhm.
with getting incrementally better at something, glove
Yeah.
presentation or bringing the hands in for baseball, footwork for basketball or football, whatever it is. But yeah, no, I get that. And I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yes, sir.
And then what about you, Jaylene? What was life like growing up for you? Where are you from? What values or influences shaped you early on?
So, I grew up in a small town in North Carolina called Grace Creek. It's right outside of Fort Bragg, like Fayetteville area. My parents were together when I was young, but I spent most of my time at my grandma's house. So with my brothers and cousins and aunties, uncles, like every weekend, everybody was at grandma's house. Um, I come from a family of athletes. Most of my family played basketball. Like I could not like not hear about her story when I was in high school, was how good she was, and her, my uncle, her brother, and all their friends like basketball. But I found my niche in softball, so I kind of stood out away from the family, but also I had that support of everybody too. Um, I played softball until high school when I made the varsity team in ninth grade. And with that year, I was only one of 2 Black girls to make the high school team. Um, and that was very, like, pivotal for me because although me and my best friend, we're best friends still to this day, we were very, very good, we were only offered D2 scholarships. We didn't have any looks anywhere else, and like I said, we were really, really good, not to take any credit away from my teammates, but even they'll tell you how good we were, in high school. But, that's how I found my home at UNC Pembroke, and I started every game all 4 years, there in college and had a very successful collegiate career as well. Um,
You
Mhm.
sure did.
when
Two-time All-American and Hall of Fame inductee, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
yes,
Yeah, that's
I
right.
was, one of the youngest people to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. I graduated college in 2010 and was inducted in 2014. So, it wasn't long after, so it was awesome.
Yes.
We have a really cool story that we could probably share later, but, Trey was able to go with me to the induction ceremony. Corey was, what, 5 or 6 weeks old, um, and that was just a moment in itself. I guess I'll pause and tell the story. So I played in the alumni game. Like I said, I'm right after having Corey, so literally he's 5 weeks old. Trey's got him in the stands, cheer me on there, and it's the alumni against the current team. I'm playing third base, and in fast pitch slow ball or sorry, fast pitch softball, third basemen normally creep way up, especially for the girls
Mhm.
who slap from the left side. So I did that, um, like it was nothing. Fielded it clean out by like 3 or 4 steps. It was crazy of a girl who
Wow.
was actively playing. And then, ended up hitting a double,
Mhm.
I think off the wall, and I somehow had to slide into third. Well, as I got up from sliding into third, my milk is coming out. And I slid right by the current girls, the current team, like by their dugout, and they look, their eyes are huge, like, oh, what is that? Why is it happening? Because they're young 20-year-olds, some of them late teenagers. But I explained, it's like, hey, this is what happens when you live life, girl. Like, you get married, have kids, this is a part of it. Um,
And
but
then
it
you
was a
come back
great
and dominate.
experience. Yes, yes, exactly. But yeah, that was a great opportunity, great experience. My whole family got to come, especially like I said, having Trey and Corey there. And Trey never saw me play college ball, so that was just absolutely amazing.
I love that. I got to coach at Hillsdale College, which is a D2 school in Michigan. Um, there's there's nothing like it. The
Yeah.
college game is far superior than anything. And just for anybody that's a parent that is, you know, pursuing sports for their child or children as they grow up,
Yes.
7% of people who play high school sports play in
Mm.
college. So it doesn't matter if it's D1,
7%.
yeah, 7%. So D1, D2, D3, NAIA, it doesn't matter if your
Yeah.
person is a college athlete, they're a college athlete, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Like Hillsdale was phenomenal. The head coach, the assistant coach were very good friends. I still talk to some of the players. One of them gave me a shout out during their senior graduation. Um, One of them just became a Marine Corps officer, and I was his first salute when he commissioned. And then
Nice.
yeah,
Wow.
and then I got to go to his, basic officer candidate school graduation on my way out here, so yeah, and I mean, this dude's tough. Joe is just 6'4", like, he got drilled with, like, a 92-mile-an-hour heater in the knee, and you heard it, and he just walked to first base. I was like, "Okay, every day is leg day." Like, he's
Yep.
so strong,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's nothing like college sports, so don't poo-poo it if it's not D1 or a brand name, like, if you get the opportunity to play, go where you're wanted and have a blast.
Yes, absolutely.
So go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say as far as, like, my family though, me and Trey's story is very similar. My parents separated when I was about 15 while I was still in high school. My dad moved to Maryland to be with his now wife, is still his wife today, and my mom married 6 months after her and my dad separated. So I have a great relationship with both step-parents, but it was definitely a transition for me. Um, so around that same time, I started playing travel softball, so I didn't start playing until I was, like, 15 to really be seen. That was probably part of my reason that the D2 schools is who found me, who saw me. But it really helped me to take my mind off all the things going on at home and help me prepare for adulthood. Like I said, my family being athletes, they were very disciplined. They motivated me. And my mom would always say things like, if you ain't gonna do it well, don't do it at all. So, um, that really enhanced my discipline of doing things, facing adversity and always push to be better. So that helped me through my college career because even as heavy as my schedule was, I worked part time as well. I worked like 20 hours a week while playing,
Wow.
and I was on presidential honor rolls while in college and things like that. So I think the things that I faced amongst my parents, instilling in me, this is how you can do this is how you can approach that. Just having good positive guidance, my grandfather, that really helped me through my career and where I am today.
That's fantastic, and what a great message to share for anybody listening. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way, right?
Yep.
Not only were you playing and you played all 4 years, you're maintaining really, really good GPA and you're working 20 hours a week. And being a college athlete is no joke. You either have morning workouts or afternoon workouts. You've got class. Class just fills out the day, depending on what the NCAA says for your practice time. But then you've got pre practice. You stretch and warm up on your own. When the coach is ready, it's practice time. And then you're doing stuff on your own because practice is just whatever the coach's focus is. If you have to work on an individual skill set, fielding, throwing, hitting, whatever, you're going to do that on your own time. So kudos to you. And that can apply to any facet of your life. If you want to get better in your relationships, if you want to get better with your faith, if you are working on a college degree or a book, whatever it is, there's plenty of time. We all have the same 24 hours a day. It's what you do with those 24 hours.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Shifting gears, Trey, what led you to join the army and what did that decision mean to you at the time?
Well, like I said, I seen the recruiter come into school, but joining the army at the time was just something I thought I needed to do because I had zero plans for myself after high school. I was immature, had no cares about what was going to happen. So I received from letters from Florida State for baseball and another letter from a small college in North Carolina for golf. But I didn't pay him any mind because I was, felt like I was done with school. Looking back, I wish I would have at least given it a try. But joining the army was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. Who knows what I'd be doing, if I hadn't signed up. Who
I love
knows?
that. Yeah, I was gonna be a baseball player and all this, and I'm defiantly optimistic, um, but that also leads to a lack of awareness with the real world, and I didn't know how baseball worked at the college level. Or I was
Uh-huh.
scouted by the Indians and Phillies, and that was really cool, but nothing came to fruition, and that's fine. I was kind of in the same boat. I was going nowhere fast, and my stepdad was like, "Hey, man, I was kind of on the same path." The army really turned me around. I was like, "Well, you're a cool dude. All right, let me take a look." So, do I wish I had done better in school? Yes, but at the same time, like everything happens for a reason, and I'm
Yeah.
okay. It's God's timing, God's plan, His will, not mine.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, I
right.
agree, man. Yeah, couldn't have turned out any better.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was your military journey like? What did you do? Where'd you go? And what experiences helped shape you as a leader and as a man?
So my military journey started, did basic NAIT at Jackson. Then my first duty station was Fort Sill. I was a wheeled vehicle mechanic. So I'm a shy young kid that just did what he was told and played sports for the unit. I thought that was like the coolest thing.
Right?
Yeah. So I was fortunate to have great leaders. They pushed me to advance in my career. If they didn't, I would have been perfectly fine just strolling right along through my career. Um, Oklahoma's where I met my first wife. We had two amazing children. Um, then we ended up getting divorced later on. But once I left Oklahoma, went to Fort Campbell where I deployed to Iraq on the initial surge with the 101st, and then combat deployments will change your life and your relationships with everybody in your unit. Everyone becomes closer, when you're on a deployment, which helps each other get through what everyone's going through. So after Iraq, ended up going overseas to Korea, where my softball career in the military really took off. So I was on the post team, and one of the guys named Jerry Sherber, I'm still a friend to this day, but he was an all army guy. So he said, "You need to put your packet in now." So I put my packet in. It was right before I had a PCS, but I was PCSing back to Oklahoma. So I put my packet in, PCSed, and then chain of command let me go. This was in '06, was my first year. Um, but then so ended up playing all army 5 years, made all armed forces team 4 years, four golds and a silver.
Mm,
Yeah, so the silver was actually my first year on the team, and everything else was a gold.
nice.
Yeah. And then in 2017, I was, named the Army Male Athlete of the Year, one of my biggest accomplishments in my career. So, that was pretty awesome. Been stationed at Bragg, where I met this lovely lady here, Jelena, who was also a college softball star and an incredible athlete. We met on the softball field playing against each other in church league, and I proposed on the softball field.
Nice.
Yeah. We now have been married almost 14 years. We have one child together, um, Corey, he is 11 now.
Wow.
Yeah, and
And
you
he's
you met
fast
him
as the
you met him when
wind,
he was 6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a little
yeah,
tot when you met him.
right? And now he's
yeah,
fast. He's
He
fast
is.
as the
yeah.
wind.
Yeah. After Bragg came to Germany, played a lot more softball, and that's where I met a lot more great brothers like yourself.
Thank you.
Yep. And we really enjoyed our time over there, being able to play softball and travel. And then once our time in Germany came to an end, I chose to come to Fort Hood to be closer to my other two children. They live in Oklahoma. And I would retire here as a first sergeant in 2022 after serving 23 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good career though. I kind of retired because it stopped being as fun for me anymore. Didn't enjoy it as much, but the military shaped me who I am today. Discipline, work ethic, passion, drive to improve, caring for others. It just showed me how to lead, get the most out of people you work with, how to be a firm but fair leader who is empathetic, and try to understand what my subordinates were going through and how I could help them, you know, improve themselves to get where I was at.
I love
So
that
that was
because
kind of my goal.
there's a lot of leaders who won't let people do the fun and cool things that the military has to offer. In fact, you had a leader who's like, dude, you need to put your packet in. And then your chain of command approved it. That's phenomenal. That shows leadership that understands the total soldier concept, not just the military side, but the human side. And part of the human side is what we do for fun. And the fact you got to represent the army and the military on the biggest stage is incredible. Uh, what
Yeah,
did
that was awesome.
what did it mean for you to represent the army in that way?
You know, it gives you a huge sense of pride. Just knowing that you're representing the entire branch of service. Um, we play to show other branches who the best was, obviously the Army. Um, and it made you part of a unique family of ball players and a brotherhood. It still carries on to this day. So that's what I really get out of it was, becoming a part of the family and meeting new brothers in softball.
I love that. And you talk about being an empathetic leader, and that's a lot of what I try to draw out during these conversations. So, as a first sergeant, if someone's not familiar with that position, can you explain its importance and its role and what you would do as a first sergeant?
Yeah. So the first sergeant is the highest ranked non-commissioned officer in the company. He is responsible for the training, the safety, the welfare, of all the soldiers in the company. He is kind of I give guidance or gave guidance to the commander, kind of a battle buddy team. But, a first sergeant usually has the most experience.
Hmm.
Um, so you would handle, everything as a first sergeant. Um, Commander have questions, you talk to him. Soldiers have concerns or soldiers need help or soldiers, unfortunately get in trouble. You have to be the one to hold them accountable and, really just help them out as much as you can. But yeah, you're the senior enlisted advisor to the commander as a first sergeant.
Yeah, I always picture it or describe it to those who don't know as the opening scene from The Godfather. And you're the Godfather. Everyone's coming to you with their problems, their questions, their praises, their complaints. And at the same time, later on in the movie, you're Robert Duvall's character, you're the consigliere. So the commander is now the Godfather, the first sergeant's the consigliere, and you have to provide solutions based on your experience, your knowledge, because you're at that point so much senior when it comes to experience in the military in general. You help them
Yeah,
make good choices that they benefit the unit and they don't hurt themselves or make their boss look bad.
exactly. Yep.
So,
Yep.
Jelena, you're probably the first sergeant of the house. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
wh- what was it
I
like?
prefer the term CEO,
See,
but
yes,
no.
exactly. What was it like being a military spouse? What challenges did you encounter? What was the pride like, the sacrifices? Kind of lay it on us here.
Yes, I definitely will. I will say though, his when he talked about that camaraderie of the all army team, his experience there. We moved to Germany when Corey was a baby. We were able to come home for Corey's first birthday, especially with I think all armed forces was at Jacksonville, North Carolina. So
Hmm.
that was like in our backyard.
Yeah.
Um, and when I tell you, we held Corey's first birthday at the park where they were practicing at, and all of them, I didn't know half of them at the time. They all came over, hey, here's $20, here's $50. I got Corey this. I'm like, oh, y'all, I have to fly this stuff back to Germany. But the love was overwhelming. So knowing the support system from that day for us as a family, but knowing Trey had that the whole time was like, wow. Um, so that's been absolutely amazing. As a military spouse, like in all other facets, it's been rewarding, humbling, exhausting, enhancing, all like amongst so many other things. Like I said, from the time I was little, I dreamed of being a wife, a mom, being a homemaker, but also working at the same time. Um, but when we got married and Trey got the call and said, hey, you got to move to Europe. I was actually devastated
I bet.
that all the thoughts of being that wife and the woman he needed at his side, I was like, yeah, no. I was like, when with my newborn baby, he was what,
Six
5 or 6
months.
months
Yeah.
old when we moved. I had a career already, like, I was able to get a job right when I graduated college, so I'd been there for 5 years, leaving my parents, my grandpa, my brothers, my cousins that I grew up with. Like I said, I was with them almost every weekend. I didn't wanna go, and I told Trey, I was like, "Isn't there a thing where you can go by yourself and be there for a little while, and then you come back here?" And he was like, "Yeah," but it it didn't take me long, but I was like, "You know what? I gotta go." He was promoted, to E7 right before we moved, so I knew he was on the downhill of his career, but I was like, "I need to be there." Um, I didn't marry anyone or anything else other than this man right here beside me, so
Mhm.
we had to make our plan to move, being away from family, knowing that, we'd be gone for 3 years old, but it was one of the best decisions that I know I made for the family, but that I could have made as his wife.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, I had to leave my career here, and Trey encouraged me not to work right away. He was like, "Why don't you just stay at home until he's at least a year old? Like, just get adapted to it. We're in a whole new country with a baby. Just do that for a little bit." And like I said, being the independent minded person that I've been, that was hard, but I was able to love on Corey, like, all the time, watch him grow, be able to take care of the house, be the wife that Trey needed so that he could transition into this new role in a new country, not knowing all the ins and outs there, and allow him to do that successfully, knowing that the home front was taken care of.
That's awesome. Um, there's a pretty bad stereotype of military spouses. Um,
Mhm.
it takes a very special woman or man, but we'll go just gender normal, go with a woman to do that job. What is the big misconception, or what do people often misunderstand about that role?
Yes, I agree with you 100% that it does take a level of sacrifice, patience, I would say confidence and encouragement too, not only for yourself, but from your spouse, the active duty member, in order for you to be a devoted military wife. You have to be willing to sacrifice your own wants and needs to make sure that your spouse, my husband, so that he was able to support the mission. And I say that to an extent, like, don't shut yourself down, like, and, like, just erase yourself, but you have to understand, like, there's a balance, and that balance may be seasons, maybe years of times to where I gotta do this right now to support what he has going on, to know that at the end of it all, the big picture is that we're all gonna be good. Um, you have to demonstrate that patience as your spouse will be processing the same situation, but in a completely different way.
Well, that's
So just
very
having that understanding.
yeah, no, that's very well said. And it's gonna go into the next topic, but you talk about confidence and the confidence you have to have almost playing a supporting role. The service member gets the lead acting role, if you
Yeah.
will, for lack of a better term. But great movies, great stories don't happen in a vacuum. It takes tons of supporting people, and it can be friends and family, but really that spouse is so integral to the well being of the service member. What would you
Yep.
tell, a young woman or young man or a middle-aged woman or man who's contemplating getting married, but they're a little nervous about losing their identity or their autonomy when it comes to marrying a service member?
Like you said, it speaks to that word interdependence. Like, while you guys you're joining to become one, but you don't lose your own identity within that. Like, it just multiplies. Um, and if you can remember that they have amazing qualities that can bring out some amazing qualities within yourself, and use that as a foundation to just continue going and growing, it makes a world of difference in understanding that patience piece because it doesn't happen overnight. And I'm sure we'll get into it more, but there's still things that we discuss on a daily, weekly basis, like, hey, look, we need to come back and revisit this conversation, or we need to reevaluate this, or that. um, because we have changed and evolved as people. Like, the person I was even, I'll say, 5 years ago is not the woman that I am now.
Hmm.
And understanding that it's for the better, but Trey has learned to foster that and instill that to help me keep going so that I can still be my own individual person, but that this new individual person is still very highly supportive of him.
I love that response, and you talk about, um, bringing out the best in each other, and that comes to fruition, and it shines in kind of our darkest moments, and chapters of our life. And Trey, a few years ago, you went through a life-changing accident. To the
Hmm.
extent you're comfortable with, can you walk us through what happened and what recovery looked like for you?
Yeah. Sensitive subject, but I'm gonna see if I can get through this. Um, so this accident like changed my outlook on life. Um, After I retired, I was working for myself as a box truck delivery driver for a company in Austin, just delivering car parts to different locations. So I would go in at 6 and be done with my route by 1. I thought it was a pretty good gig. Time was good, pay was decent. Till October 27th, 2023 at 5:15 in the morning, my life would change. So I was on my way to Austin. I'm going down the interstate. Traffic was flowing, and no, I had a sneeze coming. So I put my head down and I sneezed. I looked up and traffic was completely stopped. Um, right in front of me. There was a 18-wheeler with a empty flatbed trailer on it. So I tried to swerve, but obviously didn't swerve in enough time. It ended up impacting. I caught the right rear of the trailer, and it caught the driver's side front of the van, and that's when the van started flipping. Just closed my eyes, held on to the steering wheel, and then it came to a rest on the passenger side was on the pavement. So I was suspended in the air with my seatbelt holding me in the seat, and then I could feel that something wasn't right with my left leg because I had like zero control over it, but I had no idea how bad it was. So I told myself I got to get down from this seatbelt. So I unbuckled and I just fell to the ground, and that's when I felt the pain hit.
Mm.
So I knew my leg was broken, but I had no idea how bad it was. So I ended up breaking my femur just below my hip joint and also breaking my wrist, which I found out later at the hospital. The doctor had to tell me. So said, "Is there anything else wrong with you?" I said, "No, everything's good." And they took the X-ray and found my wrist was broken. Um, I called Jelena that morning. It was real early. She didn't answer at first, so I called my other buddy, Sean, and told him I got into an accident. Tell Jelena for me. So it took me to the emergency room where Jelena and Corey ended up meeting me there. Said the pain I went through that morning was the worst I had ever felt. Um, but after surgery and everything was done, I ended up with a rod and some screws in my femur, and the screws go into my hip. And I ended up staying in the hospital for about 5 days, and then a rehab facility for another 10. So it like kind of teach me how to walk and strengthen up my leg again. If you were to see my van, you would think that there's no chance there'd be a survivor in it.
Mhm.
Um, I guess God had other plans, and to this day, I consider myself blessed to be alive. I'm not taking anything for granted because it can be gone in just a split second. It made me realize how much I needed to tell the people in my life how much they mean to me and how blessed I am to have them in my life. God is awesome. God is awesome.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, I have a follow-on question. So
Yeah.
you openly acknowledge, a hand of God in that. What are you doing now to not waste that gift?
No, you kind of I wake up at wake up every day just thanking God that you're still here and cherishing relationships and just making the most out of who's in your life and spending as much time with everybody as you can. You just you got to really be thankful for what you have, and that's how I've been living since then. Is just grateful for everything that I've been given.
Dude, that is the perfect answer. Um, it really is like the series we just started in our church. It's talking about being content. We live in a consumer world and a consumer country where we're being inundated with debt. Sign up for this credit card, take out a payment for this, do that, listen to this, do like we consume with our eyes, our ears, our heart. But God just wants you to be content. I've given you this. Isn't that enough? And
Yeah.
then
No,
it, when you realize, like, wow, that was almost taken away from me, the greatest gift, the greatest way to honor that gift is to acknowledge it and tell people you love them and cherish those relationships. I think that's just a beautiful answer.
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
Def-
so from the wife perspective, that had to have been a horrible missed phone call and day. From your perspective, what was that like, and what did you hold on to during the uncertainty?
Oh my gosh. Let me clarify. I missed the call because it was so early. I was still sleeping. I normally don't wake up until like six on a good day. To get me and Corey ready for school. At that time when Trey was going to work. Um, so imagine, let me rephrase it as a missed call to
Hmm.
waking up to hear news like that. So I saw his missed call when I woke up, and then Sean was calling me right away and was like, "Hey, Trey got into an accident." I'm like, "What?" And so I'm trying to call Trey back. He's not answering, so he's probably already on the way to the hospital. So then I'm really panicked and freaked out. Um, and some random guy ends up calling me. I was like, well, who is this? But it was a guy who witnessed the accident, who stayed at the scene. I'm still very grateful for. Um, but just asking him, I said, is Trey okay? He said, yep, he's alert. He's okay, but I think his leg is broken. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I wanted to just get up, get moving, get my eyes on him. But being a mommy, Corey's still there. I didn't have at that time of morning, I was like, I can't call anybody even relatively close. Like our neighbors are really good. We have a few friends nearby that we really trust, but not that time. And I was like, he's got to come with me. So just kind of waking him up, getting him like just pajamas, just let's just go. Um, so getting to the hospital and seeing him like up in a sling thing to try to protect his leg, his arms kind of up in the sling. The sheriff is there trying to get questions, and the doctors were really frustrating me, really irritating me. Um, but it was a madhouse. The whole thing was like just extremely trying. Um, as we progressed, the whole day at the hospital that morning, like I arrived at like maybe 6 o'clock. I told them who I was there to see. They didn't let me back right away. So I'm like, hey, like what's going on? So all those things happen. Um, and walking into the emergency room where he was to see him like that, then him have to recount that story to the sheriff for the sheriff to then say, okay, well, I have to fault you. You ran into the back of him. You're getting ticketed for it. So as he's telling this story, they're trying to wrap his wrist and
Hmm.
get that secured. And then shortly after that, they start drilling into his knee. Is like, hey, if we don't get something done now, his leg is already starting to heal, and that can cause later worse complications and all kinds of things. But all this is happening, and Corey's right there in the room. Like it was insane. But hearing him tell the story again, the fact that he's able to recount moment for moment what happened, like he was like, oh, I hit the back of the truck, the van started flipping, I grabbed the wheel, a steering wheel, I flipped a few times and then so he was alert and conscious the entire time
Mhm.
of the accident. And when I tell you his face was untouched, like there's no bruising on his body other than now the scar from where they did the surgery. And at first, he had to go through his whole physical therapy process and everything, but you would look at Trey today and not know anything is wrong. So I was like, babe, this is by the grace of God. This is a miracle. You were definitely covered by angels. So just seeing all of that within the moment at the hospital, and Trey being Trey, before he went back for surgery, he said, babe, you got to go to the van. I had parts and stuff in there for work that I got to get. And then my backpack and amongst other things I was like, okay, I'll go, but we got to get you into surgery first or whatever. So he goes into surgery. That's when, well, I called his parents first right away. They heard some of his screaming and stuff, especially his dad. So they were like, I'm booking a flight, like telling all that to family, like, yeah, it was a little unsettling. So then when I was on the way to, what is it, a junkyard, a salvage yard for where they took the van, then I called like Danny and Jazz and let them know. And thank goodness I was on the phone with Jazz whenever I saw the van. Um, the guy who made it to the scene, he was walking me back and he was like, yeah, the van is right back here. Um, he said, wait a minute. And when he stopped walking as we're on the way to the van, he said, is he okay? And the level of concern, I stopped and looked at him and was like, what do I need to prepare myself for? Because seeing Trey, that yes, his leg was broken, but we knew that surgery is going to take care of that. His wrist wasn't that bad. Surgery is going to take care of that. To hear this man like just stop and was like, after I said, what do I need to prepare for? He said, I have to be honest, when I arrived on scene, I thought it was a fatality. Um, so we walk up and they have the van parked like between two semi trucks. And all I could see was the front passenger tire as I'm walking up, and the way that it was bent told me everything that I needed to know. But I walked up, the entire front end is pushed like to where the middle of the van was. Like
Wow.
there was like a side door to open it on the side, like an Amazon truck, basically. And it seemed like it was back that far. I just broke down crying. Jazz was on the phone with me and she talked me through just going to get his stuff. His shoe was stuck. Like I had to pry his shoe from like the gas pedal and the floor. Like it was chaos. That I was not prepared to see. Um, but saying all that to say, had to rely on my learnings, my belief that discipline and facing adversity that I talked about earlier to get myself through it because I couldn't show up for him like I was at that salvage yard. So I did. I relied on friends. I talked to Danny and Jazz. They actually came down and spent some time with us um, during his accident. But his parents too, the big kids, I called them later that day because it was super early. I couldn't lay that news on them.
Mhm.
But his parents came down, the kids came down to see him. So I had support, but I had to kind of hide my feelings. And this is one of the things I was talking about, where you have to sacrifice some of yourself at times to be the wife that he needs. Because I couldn't go in there crying while I have Natalie and Jaden walking in behind me. I couldn't take Corey to see him when he was getting physical therapy and be like broken down myself. Like that wouldn't have been good for anyone. So at that point, I felt like I had to be the one to carry us spiritually, um, emotionally, mentally, physically, because literally I had to lift Trey up to go use the bathroom. I had to make sure in the shower that he wouldn't slip and fall. So we we made an adaptive home for him during this time, wheeling him around in a wheelchair when we went to Walmart, we'll go to Corey's practices. All of those things I then had to do, so I had to sacrifice myself a lot. Again, I'm working at the time, so that I didn't go to work for several weeks. If he needed something, I was like, "Hey, I gotta go." I'd had to drop everything and just go to be there for him. So that really tested our faith. Um, but in my perspective, it wasn't God, why? It was, what do you want us to learn from this? What do you need me to see and do with the situation, this scenario?
Wow. Leave it to the first sergeant to be living out the NCO creed while he's laid up in a hospital. Competence is my watchword. My two basic responsibilities will always be uppermost in my mind: the
Consummate of
accomplishment
the
of my
mission,
mission.
buddy.
Oh man. Um, you just started touching on it. How did that experience shape your marriage, your faith, and your outlook on life?
um, it led me back to scripture. And I say back, not that we ever veered really far, but like I said, being military family, you lose your foundations as far as your church home. We had a really good church family in North Carolina, so we didn't have that. So when we did get to Texas, we did kind of, I say, church hop, trying to find a home that fit for us. So that's what I mean when I say get back to scripture. We did have a new church home by the time of the accident. So making sure that I was deep into the Bible, deep into the word, listening to sermons, sometimes on repeat, um, praying incessantly and just developing my relationship with God. Like I said, I knew I kind of had to be the backbone for the family during this time. Not that that's a role that I feel like I'm supposed to have or that I should do all the time, but during that time, I had to. Like I said, to keep everyone uplifted. And Corey, he's with us now, so he'll hear some of it, but he was questioning things like why? Why did this happen? So understanding, there was nights when he would say things like that. Trey was still at the
Rehab.
rehab
Mm.
facility, so fostering all of those things. And when his parents came to visit at different times, but funny story, his dad came, and Trey needed something, and he was like, "Dad didn't do it right. Can you do it?" Um, so just those little things, like no matter how tired I was, what my day was like, I had to be there for him. And it was the sermons from our pastor, Dr. Darius Daniels, who's been absolutely amazing. We go to church online because that was the home we felt most
Mhm.
connected with. His books also helped me a lot, but also like podcast. I love the Maxwell Leadership podcast.
Yeah.
And yes, although it's leadership in there, he discusses like personal change and living purposefully. So trying to deal with all that and find out what that was for us. What did it mean to be intentional at this point in our lives? All of those things like that definitely help.
Yeah, that's tremendous insight. And it goes to show the most important decision you're going to make personally in your life is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Right.
And obviously, Trey made a phenomenal choice. If we rewind a little bit, as you retired, you mentioned that the your love for the army, the fun and joy it brought you, had kind
hmm
of gone away. What was your transition out of the military like? What were your expectations versus reality?
Okay. Getting out, everybody's like, "Oh man, I can't wait to get out. Oh, I can't wait to get out." So, first it's excitement to be retired. For the first couple months, you are absolutely stress free.
Mhm.
I was a house husband. I was proud of it. My phone wasn't ringing at all times of the night. No weekend calls to get someone out of jail. Nothing. It was silent and it felt great. You know, but then, a few months later, the reality sets in. of now I got to do something. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Did you face any struggles with your identity not having the uniform on or what your purpose in life was, um, connecting with people or employment?
Yes, this is really it was tough because once the honeymoon phase passed, I was lost. I didn't feel I had a purpose. I didn't know who I was and what I was supposed to do. I didn't know what I was supposed to do as a leader of my household. You know, I was it was tough on Jelena and Corey both, but they were there every step of the way with me. Within the first 2 years, I had three different jobs because I
Mhm.
was just what none of it was fulfilling. So I just kept trying new things. I am during that time I ended up getting my associate's degree in golf management um, in 2024. I really enjoyed that, and it was a huge accomplishment. Because of how much I hated hated school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Finally, after I took about 6 months off after all the jobs and everything, I just started playing golf all the time. But like I told you last week, on a 3-year anniversary of my car accident, I get hired to be a area maintenance manager for a waste management company. Um, just doing work in maintenance and leading people is something that's familiar to me. So I think it's going to help me get the fulfillment out of the job. Also, just recently, my mom and my stepdad moved from Miami. Um, my mom got divorced from my previous stepdad, so this is a new stepdad. But they retired in January. They moved to Texas, live about 4 miles from our house, just to be closer to the kids. It's pretty cool to have them close, spend time together. And it's the first time I've lived close to my mom in almost 30 years. Yeah, so just getting that relationship back on. But yeah, I did struggle for a while because I had no idea. I kind of still don't fully, but I was just lost.
Oh, I get it. It's kind of how the book and this podcast came to be. Um, you spent almost a quarter century in uniform from your formative years as a teenage young man up into, you know, a middle-aged man, and it's hard to shed that skin and just step boldly into a new world and just everything's gonna be hunky dory. Like it's
Hmm.
difficult.
It
What have you
is.
found that helped you kind of put the uniform down and step confidently into this new season of life?
Mhm. Guess what helped me put it down is that in the military, I feel I fulfilled my purpose and I surpassed, all the goals that set myself when I went in. So that's helped me quite a bit. Um, the military disciplines and stuff will always be with you, throughout life. I'm still not really sure about my purpose, but still trying to find it. Just Jelena and Corey and the family just support me. I'm sure I'll be fine. Um, but I think this new job will help. I think the new job will help give me some fulfillment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you talk about you accomplished what you set out to probably even exceeded the standards and expectations you set for yourself. Um,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Jelena, what was it like for you watching your husband transition from a career that defined him for over 2 decades? What was that like for you?
Yes, that too was like a flurry of emotions because while I was excited for him and grateful, I worried that he had placed his worth and purpose in the Army. Because like what you just hinted at, like his success within the Army, I saw that all along. When we met, he was E6 and he told me his goal was E7. And when he made that before we even left to go to Germany, and we got there in what, 2015,
Yep.
I was like, okay, so what's your new goal? And that's always kind of been my outlook on life. Like, okay, well, I met this goal. Now it's time to set another one. Whereas I think we are different just a little bit is Trey's like, "Okay, I met my goal, now I can sit down." So learning that we have to adapt and create new ones because we've achieved one. Even like with this job, what's going to be the goal there? And as we get even closer to what we consider normal retirement age, there's going to be a different goal there. So just learning that you're always building steps upon the previous one. Um, but having that understanding, I also didn't understand it because I'd never been in his shoes in regard to like not knowing what civilian life was like. Um, I never felt like my purpose was tied to a career. I knew that I should be leading young girls in some type of way. I should be giving my knowledge back to my community somehow. But figuring that out, um, but it's not all about the army. So trying to have those conversations, that was another like not completely tough time, but just enlightening, I guess what that would be a good word for it. Enlightening time for us as a couple, um, trying to understand what his new purpose is. Um, but again, having to be that emotional stronghold that he needed. Because I told him, I was like, take some time off. You worked 23 hard, long years. You deserve that. We're in a position to where you can do that. With him actually being retired, we prepared for that transition to the VA because that whole 60 days without pay
Mhm.
is a whole thing. Um, so grateful that I could be there to support us through that my income was still available, that we prepared for that. Um, but he couldn't sit still. That was the whole ADHD. Like, no, I got to be doing something. He did say for a long time, I'm gonna be that retired vet that sits outside on my front porch, sipping my coffee in my robe, waving at everybody else going to work.
Yeah, until it's 6:30, and then there's the rest of the day. There's no way you're sitting around.
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Yep.
yes, and that was totally him. Um, so my worry a little bit about that was him feeling lost and not knowing how to support that.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and it's a legitimate concern for those that are leaving and those that are supporting those leaving. As athletes, you probably understand this phrase better than most, which is trust the process. If you place your value in the outcome of a win or a loss, um, you're going to be disappointed far more often than if you learn to enjoy who you become through the journey of the process. And when you
Yes.
said
Hmm.
enlightenment, that really just hit a light bulb, pun intended, in my head. Uh, Caitlin has been paramount in me figuring out this phase of life. It's my third summer in a row where I was changing careers. I couldn't find purpose and value in myself. And I was looking for things to quantify what
Mhm.
success is, and really just having conversations with incredible human beings and putting my thoughts on paper and hopefully getting to share that with people and make a difference. That has been allowed because my wife gives me space to breathe, to stumble, and support me. So, babe,
Hmm.
thank you. You're the best. And Trey, you and I are very lucky in that we have strong, independent women who, on their own right, can stand on their own 2 feet and do life without us, and they'd be just fine. But thank goodness they decided to make poor life choices and marry us.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You're
God
not that
bless them.
bad. You're not
Right?
that bad.
So, what have you guys learned about yourselves through transitioning out of the military, through the accident, and now this new season of life?
Um.
I'll go
Yeah. You go first.
um just supporting him, letting him know that I'm always here and willing to help him through whatever it is that he's going through. I've encouraged him to talk to friends um, that have had similar experience. A lot of our friends are around Trey's age or like just under, so they're either transitioned around him or they're getting ready for this transition. So they're kind of all going through the same thing at the same time. Um, so encouraging him to reach out to them. I have suggested counseling for us. Um, to help us see that progressive future that Trey has helped create. Like, we're not stuck here. You're not stuck here, but there's ways to help us get to that next step, that next level. Um, Making sure that he's talking about those feelings. He doesn't have to talk to me. I'm okay that if he does reach out to his friends and his brothers, parent, whoever he feels like he needs to talk to. If it's me, great, but if not, talk to them because I feel like that he did go through that phase of shutting down
Mhm.
also. Um, he told me some things like he tries to pick up Corey from school, and there was times when he was like, "Babe, I can't. I just can't pick him up because it's too crowded. It's
Mhm.
too many people." I'm like, Why didn't you tell me?" Because I work at the school Corey goes to. I was like, "Just if you want to pick him up so he's not here, late in the evening, just wait until the crowd clears." And like it was like a light bulb, but I had no idea. He went through that for like at least 2 months at the beginning of a school year, just dealing with it. And I was like, "Baby, you have to communicate with me or somebody so we can, have that support for you." But within that, I did learn that I can't force him to do anything. I know he receives his information differently, and I just got to respect his process and timing. Pray for that understanding, so that I can support him, but also not conceal my feelings, in my experience, because I'm going through it too.
That that is such a phenomenal response in so many levels. Number one, communication. Um, for people who served during the time Trey and I did, a lot of it was suck it up and drive on. You
Mhm.
can just bottle it up and have a heart attack at 45. You'll be fine because you're out of the army and we don't care about you anymore. So I applaud you for encouraging him to speak to anybody. Um, going to a shrink can be pervasive
Yeah.
because they look at it from an analytical standpoint and almost not a human standpoint. Like, this is a human being in front of me dealing with some pretty tricky emotions. I need to help them through. My experience is it's more along the lines of a checklist. Oh, you experienced these symptoms. Now
Yes.
we're just going to address the symptoms. We're not going to go to the root cause. And even
Yes.
something as um, common as crowds. The other day, I kind of lost it on Caitlin because I was just overstimulated. There's so many people, so many noises. I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. Nope, social battery's gone. I'm out. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and when that happens, I just check out.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, you check out. There's not like I don't want to talk to. I just want to go home.
Yeah,
Leave me
exactly.
alone. I want something familiar. I want something comfortable. Like I watched Ted Lasso. I've watched Ted Lasso 11 times because it's familiar. It's great writing. I love it. But Caitlin's like, "Do you want to watch a new show?" I'm like, "Not really." But
So
she does.
that
Go
makes me
ahead.
think of 2 things, but you just brought so mu I'm, like, mind blown right now. I'm like, Babe wants chicken and rice again tonight?" Like, we just had that last week. We just had pizza 2 nights ago. But or we "Babe, you wanna watch this movie again?" "No, I don't." But it's the routine for you guys. It's that same comfort that you guys need. That makes so much sense, because you don't want to have too much going on in your brain, because for you guys at this point, this stage in your life, it seems like it's harder to process.
Yeah, I don't
And
disagree
not
at
saying
all.
that in a rude way at
No,
all, by no means.
no, not at all. No, it is. Like, I call it overstimulating. Too much information or stimulant coming at you from a source you're not familiar with
Yes.
or that the body doesn't want. Like, I was joking
Yep.
around
Yes.
about, recess today. These kids were running around screaming bloody murder. Like, my heart rate was like 180 during recess. I'm like, "I need to go to my office, close the door, and I need to have a drink." Like, this is crazy. I need to I don't. Obviously, I just had some Gatorade, but I was like, "Man, I need to get away from these kids and this environment for a good 30 minutes."
Wow. And then the other piece I wanna piggyback, I guess this is advice for anybody listening, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. when you have those counseling sessions or you're going to the doctor describing what it is that you're going through and they're like hitting that checklist like you said and you're like, "Oh, okay, take the medicine, the prescription and go." I didn't realize how prominent that was until I started going to Trey's appointments with him. Uh, I think it was for is either ADHD or anxiety, and I wanted to go because I started seeing new behaviors, and I'm like, "I don't think Trey's gonna be 100% honest. Let me go and share." And the feedback that I got from the doctor, I was like, "No, I'm telling you, this is a brand new thing." Trey started biting his nails to where they were raw, like, not
Mm.
the actual fingernail, but on the
All right,
side.
calm it down.
Sorry.
Calm it down.
But it was bad, like, it was really bad. So I was really concerned, again, not knowing how to help him. And the doctor was just like, "Oh, yeah, well, nail biting's common, when you have ADHD, anxiety. It's just, a comforting thing." I said, "But sir, this is new, brand new. What can we do about it?" "Oh, yeah, are you taking your medicine?" Like, "No, no, 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 no." And so I felt inclined to go see someone else about it. Trey was like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
um,
once again, it's something new. I don't want to do that.
Right.
yes, but I felt like we didn't get adequate responses and a way to help him. So we just tried different home things. I think would you start putting something on your nails to stop biting them,
Yeah,
band-aids, and
yeah.
just to try different things, but they weren't anything that the doctor mentioned to do. So don't be afraid if you can, if money, insurance is not an issue, go get a second opinion to really try and get the help that you need if you can get past that anxiety of actually going.
Hmm.
Absolutely. You have to be your biggest advocate.
Absolutely.
I equate it to grocery shopping. You can get chicken from 5 different grocery stores. Some of them are more convenient on the way to work, some are more convenient on the way home, some are more convenient from home. Same thing with, seeking medical care. If the first answer you get, even if it's great, just see if somebody else agrees with them or disagrees and be a little bit more proactive, especially the service members our age, because if we don't address the problems now
Mhm.
at typical retirement time, 65, 70, you're going to be
Yeah.
spending all your time in the hospital.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a great point. When you guys look at everything you've accomplished, the military career, the athletic achievements, the adversity you've overcome, how would you define legacy, or what do you want your legacy to be?
I struggled with this one too. It gets a little tough. Um, I want my legacy to be defined as like unconditional love, resilience, and the pursuit of excellence. I strive to be remembered as a father who loved deeply and supported our children in becoming the best version of themselves. Through hard work and humility, I've provided for my family and created opportunities that I never had growing up. My hope is that my life sets a positive example, showing the importance of character, perseverance, and empathy. And I want my children to remember me as someone who was humble, caring, and always put family first. I hope they see that I worked hard, not just for success, excuse me, but to give them a foundation for their own dreams. Above all, I want my legacy to be one of love, faith, and courage to overcome adversity, so that those who come after me are inspired to live with purpose and compassion.
That is absolutely beautiful. And throughout all of the accomplishments you had in your professional career, your athletic career, you didn't mention it. You mentioned love and compassion over and over. And that is incredible. And that's what a man of God says. So that,
Hmm.
and what about you, Jay?
Um, I agree with what Trey said, a lot of it, and that, my legacy being or our legacy being that we live for God. we use our skills, talents, and resources to honor him at the end of it all.
Like, I hope people are taking notes because that is the answer. You take those two together and you have a recipe for success, right? That is living a life to the fullest and leaving an unequivocal legacy for those to follow. I hate that this conversation's coming to an end because I miss you guys, and this has just been
Yes,
a
yes,
beautiful
for sure.
conversation. Jelena, for you, what would you say to a military spouse or family member who is supporting someone through transition or someone who's recently transitioned?
Keep God first. If you're a praying person, spiritual person, Christian, any religion, keep God first. Give love, practice patience, and don't give up.
Outstanding. And Trey, what message would you give to a service member that's preparing to take off the uniform and step into their next chapter of life?
If I could give a message to service members taking their uniform off, I would tell them to take their time on the transition, but to develop a plan. Use the resources that are available to better prepare them for life outside of the military. Find a support system, to help keep them on track and give them someone to talk to and talk about how they're feeling. Think about what they see themselves doing and develop a vision, prior to getting out, prior to their exit. There's always someone that's been through it before you. Find someone or reach out and see what they did that helped, them transition.
Again, Dynamite, the dynamic duo strikes again, guys. Like, I this was so wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to join me. You're incredible people, a wonderful couple. I love you guys so much, and I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity to listen to you and share your story with others.
Yes,
Yes.
it was so good catching up, buddy. It's
Yes.
been too long,
It
Thank
has.
you.
and thanks
Oh,
for having us on.
Yes,
It
we
meant a
love you
lot.
too. And keep doing what you're doing. Because it doesn't seem like this is just for you and you're learning. This is for everyone. And like I told you, I'm manifesting that someday the whole world is going to hear this. So I'm proud of you. Keep fighting for it. Keep going at it after it.
well, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
See, that's the beauty of conversations like this one. Trangelina didn't hold anything back. They showed up with honesty, transparency, and a willingness to talk about the real parts of marriage, of family, service, and growth. And because of that, there were so many takeaways, not just about leadership or resilience, but about choosing to show up for the people you love, even when life gets messy or unpredictable. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. That was absolutely fantastic. If their story encouraged you today, do something about it. Reach out to someone who's been in your corner, support a military family in your community, or just take a minute to reflect on what it looks like to be more intentional in your own home. As always, remember, the world is better with you in it. If you're struggling, reach out. Call 988, talk to someone you trust, be a fountain, not a drain. If you enjoyed this episode, give me a follow on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok at enduring underscore mindset underscore enterprise. And go check out the website, www.enduringmindsetenterprise.com. And stay tuned for updates about my forthcoming book, The Invisible Veteran, which is scheduled for release on May 26, 2026, right after Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for listening. Onward, forward, fall out.